Welcome to the No Regrets Leadership Podcast, where leaders are empowered to equip and disciple men.
Welcome to the No Regrets Leadership Podcast. My name is Steve Sonderman, and I am so excited that you have chosen to listen to this message. In this episode, you'll be listening to a talk that Rod Handley gave at the 2018 Refuel Conference entitled Helping Men Overcome Traps. Rod Handley is the founder and president of Character That Counts, a ministry established in 2000. Rod has spoken all across the nation about character, integrity, and accountability issues. He has written over 20 books, including Character Counts, Who's Counting Yours? Rod and his wife Jana have 4 children, and in this talk, Rod will not only provide the biblical base of accountability, but will also explain what accountability is and what it is not. Listen now as Rod speaks on helping men overcome traps.
Greetings, men. It's great to be with you today at this No Regrets Refuel Conference, and just a privilege to be involved. And today what I want to talk about is how men overcome traps. You know, when you think about it, there's traps everywhere, especially for a Christian man. There's addictions, there's lies, there's lust, there's temptations, there's sin that abounds. And to be quite honest, as a leader, and you guys are the leaders, you're the pastors, you're the ministry leaders, the enemy would love to take you out. He'd love to sabotage everything you're doing, the history you have, the legacy you have, and even the future ministry that you have as well. And so when the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, the boastful pride of life collides together, our sin nature, guess what? The enemy can jump in. And of course we know the enemy is there to kill, to steal, and to destroy. He does not want you to experience the abundant life that he can bring. And so today I want to talk about the traps. You know, when you think about the word lust means I want to have it right now. And that's what happens. It doesn't matter if it's pride issues, if it's possessions, if it's popularity. It could be power. It could be a purity issue. For some men, it might be passivity. I mean, all those P words are things that could derail us, could take us out. And so those traps are plentiful. And you as a leader, you're a target. You're a number one target. The enemy would love nothing more than to have you be the next trophy in his trophy case. He'd love to have you be the next victim, the next casualty, the next headline story. And to be quite honest, we can't afford that because, men, you have influence, you have impact. And so today I want to tell you about a resource that's helped me a ton to live a pure and holy life, to be a man of God, to put into place the things that I want to live out, but obviously it's hard. And of course we got that enemy that hates us and wants to take us out. And so what I want to talk about is this word accountability. And I'm sure what's going through your mind, oh brother, here's the accountability talk. And I think accountability has a bad rap. I don't even know if we fully can understand and grasp what this word means. Now the dictionary defines it this way. It says to report, explain, or justify your life to somebody else. It means being honest or answerable to someone else. And to be quite honest, a lot of men are petrified to think about that reality of getting authentic and real and genuine and exposing themselves, revealing their secrets, confessing their sin. I mean, we're taught as men to, well, as John Eldredge says, to fake it till we make it. And we have that image and that persona that we can't reveal that people won't think highly of us, that people won't respect us. As a ministry leader, they probably didn't want to come to our church anymore, our congregation or our small group. And so we operate in this mindset that, you know, I can handle this on my own. I can go by myself. If they actually knew the truth about me, I'd be rejected, or nobody really cares, or I can handle this on my own. You know, all those different lies are perpetuated. And I guess for a leader, one of the things that happens is we have that mindset that, you know, too many people are counting on me. You know, I can't share my weaknesses. And so we get in this mindset that accountability, boy, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know what the end game will look like if I really bring, full exposure and reveal those secrets to somebody. You know, that's where I was living. You know, 30 years ago, I had secrets. I had sins that I didn't want to confess. I was leading the ministry of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes in Seattle, Washington. I was the chaplain of the Seattle Supersonics basketball team. I led a Bible study for the Seattle Mariners and Seattle Seahawks teams. I had an on-campus president at the University of Washington working with a church, and I was discipling people, evangelizing. I was doing all kinds of stuff, and yet nobody that I was working with knew I had this secret sin. I was trapped, literally. I wanted to do the right thing. I wanted to be the right person. Believe me, there was shame and there was guilt attached to it. I found myself leading that double life. And of course, you know, when your public life doesn't match your personal life, and of course doesn't match your private life, and that disconnect takes place, it's an awful situation to be in. In fact, I remember vividly, there was moments where I would be laying in bed and ready to get out and start my day, and I would ask myself this haunting question: will today be the day that people find out who I really am? And I would tell you something, guys, that's not a good place to be living. To try and to do the cover up, to try to not, it just sabotages so many things. And so I found myself in a predicament. You know, how can I lead a godly life and yet confess my sins simultaneously? I mean, I didn't know where, and that's where accountability fit in. You know, one of the things that I tell people that, and this may sound like a little bit of a tangent, but I hope you'll hang with me here, is there's a study called alternative history. It's a group of researchers that actually look at world events. And they ask themselves this question: so what would have happened if this event had never occurred? For example, what would have happened if Nazi Germany would have won World War II? What would the world look like today? Or what would the world look like if Abraham Lincoln had not been shot? Well, these researchers asked this question: so what would have happened if Jesus had never went to the cross and died for our sins? And what's ironic about that one, they say that today we'd be living in a 19th century China. There'd be very few hospitals, rescue missions, schools. The education system looks so different. And you think about it, that's what alternative history looks like. Well, I've asked the question, what if Rod Handley had never become accountable? What if Rod Handley had never decided to come clean and share what was really going on? And gentlemen, here's what I'm convinced of. You would be at this conference today, but I wouldn't be your speaker. I'm not even sure I'd be alive. I certainly wouldn't have the family I have today. And so the difference of accountability in my life has made an incredible difference in my own life. And that's what I want to talk about today, the value and importance of us staying connected. You know, one of the illustrations that we use, one of the examples, is a banana. And we have this old saying, it goes like this. It says, the banana pulled from the bunch is the one that gets peeled. Now think about it. It's kind of a silly illustration, but there's truth here. You know, when a banana's up in the tree connected to 50 of his buddies, man, he's safe. He's all good. Everything's fine. And then he gets chopped out of that tree and sent to the local grocery store, and he's still got 10 or 12 of his buddies he's doing life with. All is good. But when that banana shows up at your home and gets ripped away from his friends, guess what? That banana is in serious jeopardy. I mean, the end is in sight. It's about to end for him. And so, gentlemen, my message today is that we need to, like that banana, stay connected to the bunch. You see, when we live in isolation, when we think we can handle this by ourselves, when we convince ourselves that we can go solo, be a lone ranger, the end game isn't good. You know, what's ironic about the Lone Ranger, if you remember, he had a friend. His name was Tonto, and Tonto used to say kimosabi, and I don't know if you know what the definition of the word kimosabi is, but it's fascinating. It means trusted and loyal friend. Trusted and loyal friend. You see, the Lone Ranger really wasn't alone. He had that trusted and loyal friend that he did life with, he connected with. And he was better because he was in tandem, he was in partnership with somebody else. You know, the enemy would love to get you isolated, like a soccer player that wants to get into a one-on-one relationship with that goalie because he knows that the chances of him scoring are far greater if the defenders are out of the way and he just is one-on-one. The enemy wants to go one-on-one with you. He wants to somehow convince you that you do not need somebody else. But the reality is we need somebody else. And that's where accountability fits in. That's that connection, that key connection where we do life with somebody else. You know, just so you don't think I'm making this up. Let me give you some scriptures that really point out the importance of accountability. Proverbs 11:14 says it this way. It says, "Where there is no guidance, the people fall. But in abundance of counselors, there's victory." Proverbs 9:8-9 says, "Reprove a wise man, and he will love you. Give instruction to a wise man, and he'll still be wiser. Teach a righteous man, and he increases his learning." If you're thick-headed like me, Proverbs 12:1 is a great verse. Great verse. It says, "Whoever loves discipline loves knowledge, but he who hates reproof is stupid." And guys, that's so true. I've been an idiot in the past because I thought I could do this on my own. Of course, Proverbs 27:17, "As iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another." Proverbs 27:6 says, "Faithful are the wounds of a friend, but deceitful are the kisses of an enemy." And guys, what truth is in that scripture? You know, we convince ourselves we can do this by ourselves. And yet a real friend, an authentic friend, will even point out our blind spots. We'll ask those hard questions. We'll get below the surface, and we can begin to identify the areas that we need help in. Hebrews 3:13 says, "But encourage one another day after day, as long as it's called a day, lest any one of you be hardened by the deceitfulness of sin." James 5:16, "Therefore confess your sins one to another and pray for one another." Why do we do that? Because, well, the next part of the verse says, "So you'll be healed." Guys, if you want to experience healing, if you want to experience hope, if you want to experience freedom, you want to experience joy, it comes through confession, revealing the things that are going on, those hidden areas, and saying, "I want to get right." And then, of course, maybe the most famous verse of this list is from Ecclesiastes 4:9-10, which says this, that two are better than one, for they have a good return for their work. For if one falls down, his friend can help him up. But pity the man who falls and has no one to help him up. You know, the New Living Translation on that verse says it this way. It says, "The man who is alone is in real trouble." He's in real trouble. And I know that firsthand. I know what it's like to feel you're alone. And to be quite honest, as I meet men around the country, so many guys tell me that, they got fishing buddies, and they got golfing partners, and they got, next door neighbors, and they got a brother-in-law, and they've even got a pastor, but none of those guys really know what's really going on in their life. And they fall into this trap of, when other men ask them how they're doing, they fall to the prey of, "Well, I'm just doing fine." And you know what the word fine means? You know what it really means? It means feelings I'm not expressing. And one guy said it this way, it's being fearful, insecure, needy, and emotionally exhausted. And so we fall prey to this casual answer of saying, "I'm fine," when we're not fine. When we know down deep that we've got some things going on and we need these accountable relationships. Here's what's happened in my life. 28 years ago, I entered into some accountable relationships. I won't go into the backstory of how this all happened, but I was finally I got caught. I got caught in a situation, and I found myself at a crux of a decision point. Did I really want to be accountable or not? I actually had joined an accountability group, and I was given all the fine answers, the answers that these guys wanted to hear, but they weren't really getting down to the soul issues. And then I had this thing that happened in the Dallas-Fort Worth airport. And again, I won't get into the gory details of what occurred, but I got caught looking at pornography. And it shook me up. It rocked my world. And now I've got to come back and face the guys that I'm supposed to be accountable with, and I was scared to death. How are they going to treat me? How are they going to respond to me? I mean, I'm working for FCA. I'm doing these great ministry things. I'm supposed to be the leader. And I stood in front of them and I said, "Guys, I've been a phony. I've been a fraud. I've been a hypocrite. I've been lying about stuff. I've got a pornography problem. I've got this secret sin that's just got me by the throat, and I don't know what to do." And my greatest fear in sharing the truth with those guys is I feared that they would abandon me. They would run. They wouldn't want anything to do with me. And guys, here's what happened. They ran, but they didn't run away from me. They ran to me. And they said, "Rod, we want to help you. We want to help you be a godly man. We want to help you be a righteous man." And so we began to not just talk about accountability and the easy part of what accountability looks like. We began to dig deep and ask those hard questions. We actually developed 10 questions. 10 questions that to this day, 28 years later, we're still asking the same questions. At the end, I'll share those questions with you so you can see what they are. Very practical, very genuine, very authentic, and they've made an incredible difference in my own life. Some guys ask the question, so why should I be accountable? What's that look like? What's that, how do I do that? Or what's the payoff? Well, here's what I found out. Why do I do it? Because I know the enemy wants to take me out. He wants me to stumble. He wants me to be the next victim. We also know this, that the world is closely watching. The world's watching us. Gentlemen, you're the only Jesus some people may ever see. And to be quite honest, I don't want to be a deterrent to someone coming to Christ. So I'm going to be accountable. I also know this, that I want to remain right with the Lord. Ephesians 2:4-10 tells us that we've received His mercy, His grace, His love, His forgiveness, His kindness, His patience, and that He's called us to be pure and holy. And I say, gosh, why would I want to endanger that? Why would I want to blow that? I also know this, it encourages other believers and ourselves. I tell you what, though I wake up early to go to my accountability group, it's dark 30, I'm kind of going, hey, how's this going to work? And I've got maybe not a good report and a lot of explanation, and I've got to confess sin. But I want to tell you something, guys. Every time I come to that group, I don't walk away discouraged and demoralized. I walk away energized. And then, of course, here's a final reason to be accountable. Judgment is coming. Gentlemen, there's a day that we'll stand before God and we'll give a full disclosure of our life. If you don't believe me, look at what Ecclesiastes 12:14 says. Look what that says. It says that every hidden thing will be exposed. Every thing will be revealed someday. And so I believe that accountability today prepares you for Judgment Day later. So those are some of the reasons why we do it. And now what are the benefits? What are the payoffs? What takes place when we say yes to accountability? Well, here's what I know. I know you're going to grow in your Christian faith. I know you're going to grow. It doesn't matter if you've been a believer a week, a year, 5, 10, 20. It doesn't matter if you're the oldest guy in your church. You're going to grow in your Christian walk. I've seen countless guys grow deep in their faith walk with Christ as a result of being accountable. We also know this. The friendships you have, those friendships will grow deeper. It's both the quality and the quantity of the friendships will increase greatly when you sign up for accountability. We also know that you will have a greater understanding. Here's what's going to happen, guys. You're going to get a lot smarter. Believe me, you're going to get a lot smarter. All of a sudden, you're going to find yourself able to make better decisions and choices. And why is that? Because when you get input into your life, when you have people really begin to dig deep in your life, you will grow in your wisdom and your maturity. I also know this, guys. You're going to begin to experience peace. Peace in your life. You won't wake up petrified that you're going to be found out and discovered. I also know this, that it'll help you live by your priorities. The things you say are important now because you've got people that are checking up on you and they're looking with you. They're assisting you in the process. Guess what? You're going to grow. You're going to grow deeper in that. And then the last thing I can think of on this is you're also going to have a support system. And now when you're in crisis, and guys, there will be times you'll be in crisis. You'll be able to have an outlet, have a place to go to, a safe place where you can get wisdom and counsel and prayer and support in those times of need. Let me just tell you about our group real quickly. 28 years we've been meeting. There's 6 of us that meet on a weekly basis. And that's what I subscribe. I subscribe that you meet weekly with these people. There's too much things that can take place if it's every other week or once a month. So I subscribe to a weekly get-together with the men that you're accountable to. We meet in a local restaurant. As I mentioned, we have 10 questions that we've put together, 10 questions that are actually on this accountability card. And we'll make these available to you guys if you want. In fact, if you want to go to my website, www.characterthatcounts.org, you can download not only the men questions, but we also have questions designed for women and also for teenagers. And then if you actually want to go deeper, and these aren't on laminated cards, you can go to our site, and we have questions there for couples, for men and their spouses to also do accountability. So we answer these 10 questions. The first question is kind of our Jesus questions. How are you and the Lord doing? What's your prayer life look like? What scripture are you memorizing? Tell me about your daily devotions. And so that question, in fact, what I've discovered over the years, that question literally is a good indicator how the rest of the week has gone. If you're lacking in your Jesus question, guess what? Potentially, the rest of the questions aren't going to flow very well. And then the final question, which is my favorite question, have you lied on any of your answers today? You see, guys, the reality is if this is just the politically correct answers, if this isn't the truth, don't do accountability. It's going to waste your time. It's going to waste the people's time you're with. This is a time to get real and get authentic and be genuine. And that's what true accountability looks like. I don't encourage people to have an accountability group greater than 6. 6 is kind of the maximum number. In fact, if you get greater than that, I encourage you to split off and make it into 3 or 4, 3s or 4s as well. Let me say this to the pastors. Pastors, I've seen too many pastors, too many great men that are now disqualified, that have now, because of their lack of accountability, they found themselves in the middle of a crisis, a moral and ethical failure. Now they're out of ministry, they're out of their marriages, and it could have all been avoided if they found accountability. And so for a pastor, this is critical. How can I find mature guys that I can go with, guys that can do life with me? And what you may need to do is find maybe another pastor in your city, or 2 or 3 guys that you can gather with if there's not someone mature enough in your own congregation. I would like to subscribe that every single one of us should have a lifestyle and a mindset of accountability and not let a time go by where we're void of that. It's absolutely critical. One of the things that we want to offer to guys today in terms of resources is my book, Character That Counts, Who's Counting Yours? And in this book, we detail not only the whys of accountability, why it's so critical and so important to do, but we also tell you actually how to do it, how to implement it, a strategy as well. One final resource that we offer is our Life in View of Eternity book, and it's actually a collection of all the character quality teachings that I've done over the years. And of course, the key part of this is our accountability material. Guys, great to be with you. Thanks for having me. God bless you as you head to your small groups and now discuss what we've talked about today.
Thank you for joining the No Regrets Leadership Podcast. For more information and to access past recordings, please visit www.menwithnoregrets.org/podcast.